Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. I got a job at the local mall and found a strange set of rules. My town is relatively small, so jobs are hard to come by. I came from a rural part of the US, and the family is on its last legs, so getting a job to help pay the bills was pretty much an obligation. After my first night shift, I'm starting to wonder if bankruptcy would have been a better option. Sunnyside Mall was the only reason our town itself wasn't destroyed economically. The attention it brought from the town was great, and the jobs that came with were even better. Or so I thought. I pulled into the dimly lit parking lot at around 9:50, 10 minutes until orientation. As I walked in, the mall was surprisingly quiet. A few stores had already closed for the night, but I could see quite a few stores still buzzing with life. The food court was almost empty. The arcades were filled with kids crying to their parents about not wanting to leave, and a bunch of teenage girls running out of the department stores with bags upon bags of clothes. This was a typical evening before closing, from what I understood. Even before the horrors of that night, I still felt uneasy about it. I had always had a bit of a fear of the dark, but I'm sure I would be fine once the manager's orientation was over. As I approached the security office located near the southern section of the mall, between a Bath and Bodies Work and some knockoff arcade, I found something unexpected. A note right there on the desk. Better than nothing, I said to myself. The list was as followed. Welcome to Sunnyside Mall Security. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the orientation tonight, so I left you a list of things to keep in mind and obey at all times during the evening. P.S. Please read all regulations before shift starts. Trust us, you'll need it. Mall closes at 11 p.m. sharp. Anyone after should be escorted out by personnel unless pardoned by following rules. If you hear noises in the food court, ignore them. If camera signals is lost in the food court while noises can be heard, it should return in 5 minutes. If it doesn't, head to the food court and sit at a table for 5 minutes, then call your superior. Rule 2. If you see people in the jewelers, feel free to chat with them. If they offer you cash, take it. If they offer you food or drinks, accept them, but don't eat or drink it. If you do, you're inviting them in. If you see people in any other shop, report them to one of your superiors and ignore them. Do not chat with them otherwise. Rule 3. If you see a humanoid figure in the maintenance room, ignore it. If it leaves the maintenance room, hide under your desk. Check monitors often if possible. Rule 4. If you hear children in the arcade, walk to the entrance and say "Game over," regardless of prior statements. Trust us, it will be worse if you don't. If your monitor turns off by itself, wait 5 minutes. It should turn back on. If not, leave the mall immediately and report to security. Rule 6. If you see a red minivan pulled into the parking lot at 4 a.m., don't be alarmed. That's just Bill. He's the parking security. If you see a blue minivan in the parking lot, don't leave the building for any reason until it leaves. If you absolutely have to leave, don't let the driver see, hear, or catch you. Rule 7. If you hear anyone knock on the door during any point of your shift, don't answer it. If you do, it's already too late. Rule 8. If a man who calls himself Jonathan Walters appears in the mall, don't let him get behind you. Feel free to chat with him otherwise. Rule 9. Mall opens at 7 a.m. to the public and 5 a.m. for staff. Don't open the doors any earlier otherwise. I know the expectations can be overwhelming, but rest assured, follow all of these rules and you should be fine. And we hope to see you flourish as a Sunshine Mall employee. Best wishes, Bethany Woods, Security Manager. I didn't understand a single thing I just read. This was probably just a prank in the office to scare new employees. I even played some games on my laptop with some friends over Discord, commenting on the unrealistic nature of the rules. In the middle of a Warzone match, I decided to check my camera monitor and saw something that would haunt me to this day. A humanoid figure walking out of the maintenance room, on a mad dash to my office. The last thing I remember hearing that night was the slow creak of my office door opening. When I woke, I had a splitting headache and a few bruises, but other than that I was fine. What was that thing? How did it know I was in my office? Why can't I remember anything after it opened the door? There was no time for questions. I heard whispers in the outlet next to the office coming from the vents. Rules. Rules. Check the rules. I thought to myself frantically, still confused, scared, and not ready to piss off any more of those things. I grabbed my flashlight, loaded with 2 AA Duracells, ready for this thing's evening. I walked to the gate, took 2 quick breaths, and managed to stutter out the words, "Game over." The voices stopped. With this result, I was relieved. I bolted back to the office, shutting and locking the door at a speed I don't know was possible, not wanting to screw up any other things in this godforsaken mall. Looking on the camera, I saw a few people in the jewelry outlet. No big deal, I could ignore it if I wanted to. About 45 minutes after that, at about 2:15 a.m., I decided to walk around the mall a bit, using an app to send the camera feed to my phone, making my job much less stressful. On my walk, I saw an empty outlet and remembered that mall used to be a Chuck E. Cheese there, back when I was in middle school. I'm starting to be relieved that it closed down, not wanting to imagine how much scarier the job would be if those suits started to move, like something out of the Five Nights at Freddy. As I walked, I heard footsteps near a clothing outlet. Walking in my direction, a middle-aged man, moderately tall and thin, dressed in a navy blue suit with a red tie, said hello. He addressed himself as Jonathan Walters. I remembered every word of that rule. "Hello," I said with some hesitation. He asked if I worked there, and I of course told him the truth. Who knew what he would do if I told him anything else? He tipped his hat and walked away, and I made sure to keep him in the front of me until I couldn't see him. I went back to the office for snacks. It was 2:30 now. Only 30 minutes until Bill gets down here. The next 30 minutes went by in a flash, since I was on my phone with my friends. I did not tell them about the monsters, and how could I? Even if they took it seriously, would the cops? How could I even prove it? It nagged my brain for that half an hour, and I heard the clock's hand hit the next hour. 3 a.m. Now, don't get me wrong, all the hype is stupid. All this stuff about witching hour or something. If 3 was supposed to be the scariest part, then what's the explanation for the rest of it? I heard what sounded like a minivan pulling in. It must be Bill, I thought. I walked to the door, unlocking it. Parked in the lot, right in the middle, was Bill's red minivan. I was relieved to see someone else, finally. It had been 4 hours since I'd seen another human. Bill looked to be in his late 40s, around the age of my parents. He was in an orange t-shirt, advertising some bar in town. I'd been to it once, but it wasn't really my favorite place to be. We had some good conversation for 5 minutes, and then something strange happened. I saw, pulling into the parking lot, another minivan. A blue minivan, to be exact. Probably some drug dealer selling to his buyers. I walked back into the mall, not realizing what the van really was. I then checked the list again just to be sure. Clear as day, right next to Bill. If you see a blue minivan, don't leave the mall for any reason. If you absolutely must leave, don't let him see, hear, or catch you. Thank God I got back in before I saw me. The driver didn't seem to pay any attention to Bill, but seemed to be eyeballing the mall entrance. It scared the crap out of me when he looked at the camera, but he didn't do much more than that. The minivan started up again and drove off. It was 4 a.m. now. Just another hour for this crap before I could finally leave. Just then I heard voices in the food court. I decided to check the camera feed, but it didn't display, just static. I waited the suggested 5 minutes, even setting a timer with my phone. It still didn't return. The list said to go to the food court and wait for another 5 minutes. It was weird, but the list had only helped me thus far. I sat at a table, pulling out my phone in case another one of those things showed up. Nothing did, thankfully. I walked back to the office, sitting at my desk, feeling happier than I had in a long time. About 2 minutes after, I heard a knock on the door. Finally, I said out loud. I reached to open the door, but there was nobody there. Strange, I thought. As soon as I shut the door, I felt my heart drop. I looked at the list one more time. At 4:59 a.m. If you hear a knock on your door at any point during the night, don't answer it. If you do, it's already too late. My clock has said 4:59 for 2 hours now. I know they're standing right behind me. I decided to write this story to tell you all about my last night. It's been hard to write this story without turning around. Sometimes it laughs, and it reminds me how stupid I was to answer the door just as I was about to get out. I know now that escape isn't an option. The thing growls if I reach for the door. Maybe if I run, just won't be able to catch me. I'm gonna try it now. End of transmission. 4:59 a.m.